Did he know the vehicle was going to accelerate towards him?
I think the way that it was turning away from it, I don't think that there was ever a real threat to his life.
I don't think you can argue that within the span of 2 seconds, he calculated exactly what the car was going to do as it turned to face him and he was walking to his right.
And this is
so the point is this. Maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong, right? Yeah. But that's an analysis that is going to require debate. It's not an objective fact. So when you say he violated the policy, I say, actually, that's the debate. Why did that happen? The second thing you say he violated was that he shouldn't discharge a firearm unless the vehicle was acting in a manner that threatened his life. That is, again, an argument. It accelerated towards him. And by all means, you can argue it didn't, and he may be wrong, but we are not talking about a fact statement. We're talking about an opinion statement.
And this is why this case will be so difficult to prosecute, because what you've seen here is a microcosm of what the trial will be like. The defense lawyers will say, look, boom, 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 all at once. It's a split-second decision. And the prosecution will say, slow down the tape. Here it is, boom, and then she's pulling away. It's not a threat, boom, boom. And that's the problem with this case as a prosecutor, is that because you can debate this, it's going to be hard to convict beyond any reasonable doubt.
Like, how are you going to get a jury? How are you going to get a jury to unanimously say guilty? I just don't see it at all. Impossible.
Especially with this photo right here.
For the last 2 shots, I think that there's a good chance that you could get some, like, a jury to say that there was no need to apply lethal force in that instance, that it's not reasonable from, neither a subjective, in my opinion, or objective perspective, that he could have believed that his life was in imminent danger and she needed to be shot that second and third time.
I have a better argument.
As she's turned away from him.
Right?
Actually, I have a better argument, actually. I don't think any of those arguments are real. I don't think, to us they are, because we're actually trying to figure out what happened, right? I think the reality is venue. So if they do Minnesota and the jury is composed of liberals, the prosecutor need only say one thing to get a conviction. She was a liberal. And they say guilty.
But it won't be all liberals. This will be a jury panel from the whole state, not just from that liberal area.
You know what you're going to see? You're going to see, as we already did in the Trump case, you're going to see liberals who claim they're not liberals. And they're going to go through jury selection and they're going to say, I don't watch the news. I don't know much about it. I'm not political. And then after the trial, you're going to find out they have a whole wall of Facebook posts about how they're liberals, because that's already happened.
So we'll just get a hung jury?
Well, it could be. Also,
I don't think you get a jury at all.
By the way, in the Trump case in New York, one of the jurors later on revealed that he was a devotee of the Tim Pool IRL podcast. What?
That is incorrect.
That's the story. He said he was a fan of Tim Pool.
No, he didn't. He said he had seen one episode one time.
Okay, so that's it? He wasn't
He wasn't a fan.
He wasn't a fan?
This is what we have to deal with all the time. Like, I was having a conversation recently with a guy who said he was a liberal. And I said, what does it mean to be a liberal or conservative in this country right now? It means you either know what's happening or you don't. And he said, I actually don't watch the news at all. And I'm like, I know, because my policy positions are like pro-choice, pro-progressive tax, and would align with any normal liberal worldview, except when I say a thing happened, they go, you're a conservative now for having said that. Being conservative just means you believe a set of facts. And liberals tend to be people who don't watch the news or get their news through lies. For example, the photo that's being shared far and wide by the left is this. The officer pointing his weapon at the side of the vehicle, which certainly did happen, but is after the fact context. They're taking this screenshot and they're saying he walked up to the car and executed her. When in actuality,
what
she hit him.
context justifies that? What context justifies those 2 additional shots?
See this video right here?
Yes,
That's
I do.
after the shots were already fired.
But
and
who's claiming that he walked into the car to shout at her?
High-profile A-lister celebrities, and I've already highlighted some of these on my show, are saying he walked up to the car and shot her in the side of the head. And so what happens is, normie libs, people like Seema Liu, this is not when the shot is happening. This is after the shots.
He didn't walk to the car to shout her.
After the shots and claiming he walked up to her car and shot her. On Wikipedia, they wrote that she was turning her car around, was executed, and was shot in the head. The reality is much more nuanced, and there's certainly an argument to be made about whether he should or should not have shot. But the fact is, she accelerates towards him, she strikes him with the vehicle, and then he makes 3 rapid shots.
So what's the argument that he shouldn't have shot?
He did not walk up to her and just execute her.
What's the argument to you that he shouldn't have shot?
The argument to me is that I have been in life or death situations.
That he shouldn't have shot, because you said there's an argument to be made that he shouldn't have been shot. What's that argument?
So let me finish. My argument is, having actually been in life or death situations where I've been shot at, my reaction would not have been his to fire these shots. However, I am not him. He is someone who experienced trauma. Therefore, I think this is an easy dismissal. It's a tragedy. Shouldn't have happened. However, in law, if you are committing a felony, attempting to evade arrest and put an officer and commit an assault on an officer, which this is, you will face lethal force from a litany, from a spattering of various officers. Not every officer would react the same way. If it were me, I wouldn't have shot. That's just me. Maybe I'm wrong,
Tim,
but he got hit.
Now, can we talk about the fact that all of this is happening because the left is doing a national campaign to obstruct law enforcement? I mean, this is really what's behind all of this. This specific
it's not real. Look, the debate over this shooting exists only among those who are trying to fix this country, and liberal activists are trying to change this country. So if you are a revolutionary or you believe the system is so corrupt that you would celebrate Luigi Mangione or the assassination of Charlie Kirk, you don't care what the facts are, you care about winning.
And let me say about these people, the people who were calling for hanging Kristi Noem in New York City, I think it was last night, the man leading that protest, you can look him up, his name is Manolo de los Santos. He's original from the Dominican Republic. He leads a Marxist group in New York City called the People's Forum. It's the same guy who organized the protest calling for the liberation of Maduro.
Oh, gosh.
Wait, it gets better. He got arrested at the Colombia pro-Hamas protest, too.
Yeah.
It's
shocked.
all the same people.
I'm shocked that he's also pro-Hamas.
Oh, wait. He's a personal friend of the dictator of Cuba. He was just in Cuba hanging out with his pal.
Now, see,
these are the Marxist groups organizing the destruction.
You're trying to be reasonable and assess a singular moment. The activists are lying to try and force a change of this government.
All right, I hate doing the both sidesism because that's always lazy thinking. But let me just say this. I don't disagree with you, Dan. And my concern is that when Kristi Noem came down, the first thing she said was, this is a domestic terrorist. That's not a domestic terrorist.
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
So she lights the fire.
I can tell you that there are
disagree.
groups that are definitely the closest that I have ever seen to domestic terrorism that are funded by foreign tyrants who are trying to destroy America from the inside because they know they cannot beat us militarily.
You know what you fall victim to? You're waiting for an over-the-top attack, but any true subterfuge will never present that. Meaning, she was trained by a group called Ice Watch. She is not from Minnesota.
Do we know all this
she's
for
not
sure?
from Minnesota?
That she was trained and she was... Okay.
100%. Let me
Where is she
pull it
from?
up. Colorado.
So she drove from Colorado to do that?
We don't know that. She may have moved there.
Oh, okay.
I think we have this from the New York Post.
Even if she was trained or whatever, would that make her a domestic
she trained
terrorist?
to resist feds, part of a group called Ice Watch. She was an Ice Watch warrior. The point is this. What we see with left and right over the past 10 years is that the left engages in a sustained campaign of what I would call blunt force terrorism. What you see associated with the right, but not part of any right-wing movement, is what I would call acute high incident terrorism. So let me break this down. Since Trump got elected, we have had a string of hundreds per year of physical assaults on Trump supporters. Blair White, a trans woman, most famously walked through LA with a Trump hat and was beaten and had one of her nails bloodied, like ripped off in the attack. That's blunt force, low-level terror. When you are scared to go outside saying, I want to vote for a guy because people will physically attack you, when Nick Sorter can't go to Minneapolis because they're threatening to kill him and the police won't help him, that is literal terrorism, but it's not acute. So when you see the Christchurch shooter, you see an individual who's saying extremist, white supremacist, or other things. This makes the news everywhere. Everyone's talking about it. They then say he was right-wing. Now, there's two problems with this. So long as the left maintains subterfuge and what I would call low-level blunt force terror, but at a high degree, national news will never cover it. CNN's never going to run a headline 9 p.m. Anderson Cooper about a guy who got punched in the face. But they will run a story about a guy shooting a bunch of people. That will get more attention than anything. The second problem with this is that when you see this debate over left and right acts of violence, it's a total fabrication, because the terror that you see on the right, like a white supremacist beating his wife, is registered by the ADL as like a racist attack or a white supremacy attack. The mainstream Republican Party eschews all of this, and Charlie Kirk kicked out white nationalists from his event.
Yeah, so they're saying that being a racist is right wing when it's really not.
It's not. When Turning Point USA says Cenk Uygur's allowed on our stage to debate, but Nick Fuentes is not. Then you can't claim that white nationalists and white supremacy is part of the quote unquote right because the right rejects it. However, on the left, They're literally the people, the activists are saying Charlie Kirk deserved what he got. AOC went on the floor of the House and said, don't celebrate or defend him because he was awful. Nobody should die that way, but he was a bad guy. So there is an alignment on the left from the extreme, and that is why the Atlantic and organizations are finally saying the left is more violent. But going back 10 years, going back my experiences on the ground at all these protests, I have been to hundreds of leftist protests, and I've been physically attacked dozens of times. I have been to an equal amount of right-wing protests. I've not been physically attacked by a conservative ever. So when you look at the data, I would argue this. Are individuals aligned with Democratic politicians and the Democratic Party engaging in violence? Yeah, it's low level, but it's consistent. We see the Chaz Chop. We see these protests. We see Andy Ngo getting beaten. We see Nick Sorter getting death threats. We see the corporate press acting toward that same ideology. Okay, do we see this level of violence on the right? Actually, no. I mean, fringe wackos on both the left and the right will engage in violence, but there are fringe leftists that are not aligned with any political party, and there are fringe right-wingers not aligned with any political party. It makes no sense to lump them into the bigger picture.